So, you want to do things like this?
Practice makes perfect.
And be a beefy boy that can drive into an enemy and just soak damage? Then look no further than the Titan. It'll be a perfect choice for you. A thick boy that can soak the damage and dish it back out. The Titan is a good choice, but what it lacks in mobility, it makes up for in survivability. Able to be one of the healthiest vehicles in the game, depending on how you like to play. Like the vehicles in the previous videos, the Titan does suffer until it gets around level 6 or 7, where it starts to become an absolute unit. Titan also is another vehicle with a versatile build path. You can build it to be somewhat tanky and have really good firepower, granted you perfect the reload boost, or you can be extremely tanky with up to 4100 hit points. Not to mention, with a tanky build, you will have a large amount of damage reduction, which works against crits as well. When it comes to build paths, there are a bunch of viable options, all dependent on how you want to play the vehicle. For slot 1, the main options are Tomokos, which gives 200 hit points, 25% AP damage reduction, 30% heat reduction, and 30% high explosive reduction. The second option is the Appencore, which instead of tankiness boosts the firepower with 25 damage, plus 10% crit damage, and 100 shell speed. There is also the SSA-13, which gives 100 hit points and 60% heat and high explosive damage reduction. The nice thing is you can pick which armor plating to go with depending on what is meta. When Phantom was strong, the SSA may have been the better choice, as it is good for ATGMs, but now that Ray has been buffed, it may be best if you want to go tanky and get the Tomokos. It should also be noted that the reduction only applies to areas that are covered by the extra armor. For slot 2, the options are Brax, if you want to go tanky, as it gives 100 hit points, 40% damage reduction versus heat and AP, and 50% versus high explosive. It decreases the speed in which it takes to elevate and de-elevate your gun by 15%. The other option for if you do want to increase your firepower is the HVFS. This one should really only be taken if you are trying to maximize your crit damage, as it gives 25% crit bonus, 25% more module damage, and increased shell velocity to help hit targets and also deal critical strikes. However, it is not needed, as the majority of the time you will not be sniping in the vehicle, so the shell velocity isn't super important. Especially with the fact that the Titan loses damage per shot past 100 meters. For slot 3, Tob, or TOB, is probably the best option with the increased reverse speed and increased acceleration, allowing you to back out of a sticky situation faster. However, if you feel like you are getting tracked too often, you do have the choice of building the T142, which increases the track module health by an extra 100 points and decreases the time by 2 seconds to repair your track. For slot 4, the best option for tankiness is the Bappas. It is the preferred option since it reduces damage from heat and HE by 35%, and it gives 300 hit points. ULEP only gives extra 100 hit points and reduces damage from AP by 15%, which sounds good, but overall, the extra HP is more beneficial to survival than the reduced 15% from AP. Then there is the firepower option of masses, which increases the damage of each shot by 75 and penetration by 25, and it should be noted with both masses and Appencore, the base damage for the vehicle will be 540 points, which is 10 points less than the Chopper, unless the Chopper does have the Fusabin in its 7th slot. For slot 5, AST is the preferred option with 25% turret traverse speed and 10% aiming speed. Cadillac Cage is also an okay choice, as it does increase the accuracy while moving, but it's not super beneficial for the Titan. For slot 6, both bomber options are viable. I do prefer, however, the OE-23E. For slot 7, the two options are the LGA, which increases your hit points by 400 and reduces high explosive and heat damage by 40%, and the SLEP-F, which reduces AP damage by 30%. It is less useful of the two options as it does not give any health, not to mention the LGA really helps versus Jaegers and Phantoms. For slot 8, all options are viable. If you want to be able to use the sprint for longer, then Garrett is your choice. You want to move faster and get to top speed faster, than the AVCR. And if you're trying to increase your firepower by just that much more, Anexus is the choice for you, and the one that I do prefer as well. For slot 9, all options are also viable. Eproms reduces the damage you receive when your fuel tank gets criticaled by 20% and also reduces the chances of being set on fire. And Fapro, the ANFAPRO, reduces the crit damage from engine strikes by 12.5%, which can be useful if you are finding yourself in situations where enemies are getting behind you quite often. And finally, my personal choice, and this is just preference due to the fact that my build has almost no tankiness in it, is the composite, which gives 150 more hit points. For slot 10, there is the Aspals, which gives 350 hit points, reduces AoE damage by 35%, which helps with most of the damage abilities in this game, from Raketo Rockets to Blitz Arty Strike, but it reduces your forward speed by 14.4 kilometers per hour, which can be a huge blow. Then there is the M60A3 Advanced, which is my personal choice, as it means the rotation given from the AST means that it cancels out the negative effect of this option. It also gives you 300 more hit points. So you'll essentially have the stock rotation speed for your turret, but you'll have 300 more hit points. Before going over perks, I want to explain Titan's passive real quick. Iron Warden, which resets your repair kit once you take 50% of your HP as damage. You may think this means once you hit 50% health, but in actuality, it is different. Let's use my build of 3450 hit points, for example. 50% is 1725 damage, so let's say I take 1000 damage and then use my repair kit. You would think it would mean that I have to take another 1725 health worth of damage to get down to 50% health again, but that's not how the game recognizes the 50% health. It just means 50% of your total health being taken, not how much is healed. Which means that I only need to take another 725 health worth of damage before it procs my passive. So, essentially what that means is it remembers how much damage you use even after you healed. Now, if you do proc the passive, so let's say the passive gets procced, what happens is it starts counting from where the passive got procced. So it won't proc again until you take another, for my case, 1725 damage from the moment the passive procs. For perk 1, I go with Engineering Excellence, which increases the heal by 25 hit points a second, which means it is a total of 100 hit points per second per heal for 10-second heal, which gives 1000 hit points. All other perks are good perks, but I feel like this one just fits Titan so much better, especially with his passive. For perk 2, this is where things get spicy. Master Engineer gives another 5 hit points per second, but also increases the repair time by an extra 5 seconds. Which means when paired with Engineering Excellence, the total full heal is 1575 health. Master Engineer also reduces the repair timer by 10 seconds, so it is up more often. For perk 3, the only option I would personally use is Stable Approach for the increased stabilization on the move. In a sense, Titan's playstyle changes depending on what you decide to build. If you build health, you can be the damage soak for your team, allowing them to get into favorable situations while you soak all the damage for them. Once you start losing health, you can also use your repair kits between enemy shots as long as your passive has not procced. If your passive does proc and your repair kit has already and your repair kit isn't on cooldown, unfortunately it kind of wastes the passive, but there is a possibility you can get it back over the threshold, allowing for your perk to proc again, as it seems as there may not be a cooldown for the perk, meaning if you play your cards right and back in and out of cover while healing, you have unlimited sustain. Now, if you choose the more firepower heavy build for Titan, you act more as a frontline bruiser, pushing with your team as the spearhead and dishing out damage as you go, using your health and heals to beat people in 1v1s. It should be mentioned, however, with this build path, you will need to hit your reload indicator properly. This is the bar that appears after you fire with the line that crosses through it. You will want to hit it when the line passes through the white area of the bar for a reload boost in order to boost your DPM to the maximum. Overall, even though Titan is not the most mobile, it can still have a big impact on a game, from being a damage soaker to a frontline menace. Dishing out damage left and right, this vehicle also allows you to pick and choose good upgrades to mold him to be a good fit for you, and how you like to play the game. It should be mentioned that he will not be bombing it around the battlefield picking up kills left and right, but has a more methodical approach. He is perfect for new players that may be struggling with the faster pace of the game, as for an experienced player wanting a little bit of a challenge.
Can't stop. Awesome. Get ready. Dozens to go. United. They got us. You won't recover from that wound soon. This is a man's game, rookie. There are no participation awards here, so let's score hits. All units, Saber here. This is it, the final plus. Give it everything you've got and secure the win. Over.
save the day, save the world again.